So welcome everybody to another episode of the 𝗂𝗄𝗵 podcast. This week I'm joined by someone who I have a hell of a lot of respect for, who has really changed my whole thinking in terms of business, on how you run a business, of what a business actually is, and getting through those dark days where your business actually takes over, and how a business should never take over your life, and how your life should be about living, and how your business should provide you the means to live. From all the previous podcasts that I've done with Tej and on the Property GO, there's been a bit of a kind of divide between us, where I'm a big fan of coaching and mentoring, and Tej is one of those who isn't so much of a fan of coaching and mentoring. So this week I thought it'd be great to actually get someone on who is a coach and does business coaching and has helped me in a massive way. And I wanted him to kind of, drop some information for you guys as well, so you could get a real feel for how coaching and how a structured mentoring program can help you. So lo and behold, I have Parag this afternoon. Parag from Action Coaching and London Coaching it is. And Parag, welcome, mate. Welcome. Thanks very much, firstly, for joining me.
James, great to be here. It's great to talk to you again. Thank you.
Now, some of us call Parag the Paraginator, and there's a very good reason for this, because Parag, in my eyes, is the Terminator of business coaching. He will come in there and ship-shape and sort you out and get you into shape when your business may not be where it needs to be. So, Parag, I know who you are. There's a few people that know who you are, but for the benefit of the listeners who may be new to the podcast, who are just tuning in, can you give everybody just a little bit of a background about you and what you used to do, and how you got into coaching?
Sure, of course, James. Yeah, thanks for the glowing introduction. And I'm a business coach. So let me give you a little bit of the background to what that actually entails. I actually was a chartered accountant by profession in my younger days, and I was typically bored and unfulfilled. I was working in the corporate world, and I knew that I could use my skills and my passions to make a far greater impact on people and on businesses. And I knew I couldn't do that in the corporate world. And I was just looking for an alternative vehicle for me to really make that difference. And about 12, 13 years ago, I got approached by an organization called actioncoach. They are the world's largest firm of business coaches. And they said to me, "Hey, Parag, we think you'd make a great business coach." And I was like, "Okay, no idea what that is. Tell me more." And 6 months later, I effectively, I quit my career as an accountant, much to the dismay of my parents, because they were like, "What the hell are you doing?" And started my own business as a business coach, just around the corner here in Greenwich in my old flat. And it's been an incredible journey ever since. It's been the most fulfilling and rewarding thing that I've ever done in my life. And I'm so proud of the impact that myself and my team have on people. And of course, I'm sure we'll get into some of the details about what we actually do, and what does coaching really mean, what is it and what isn't it. But that's a bit about my journey to that point, and I've been doing it ever since. I now have a practice that I run. We have an office based in the city of London. Well, we do have an office there. There's nobody there at the moment. We're all working from home, me and my team. But we've been there for the last 12 years, and we're coaching typically I think we're up to about 110 businesses a month at the moment. So we're coaching them in various different ways, but ultimately with the same end goal. Our purpose in business is really to empower business owners to achieve their dreams. We're not just there to have a nice chat. We're not just there to give a bit of advice. We're part of a long-term solution with the people we coach, to help them to achieve the long-term goals and aspirations that they want for their businesses and also their lives. And I know you're big on that, James, and it's not just about what coaching gives you in terms of skills, but more the whole piece really, in terms of what it does for people's businesses and their lives and their balance and their stress and the amount of enjoyment and fulfillment they can get from life.
Yeah, of course, I'm kind of with you there. Like I've spoke about you many times on various podcasts, and said how after going through a failure of a business and losing a business that I had, you really opened my eyes. And within 45 minutes of a taster session of sitting with you, I knew exactly where my business had gone wrong. And I try to drum this into people quite a lot, because I feel it's my duty to kind of put it out there, and people shouldn't be making the mistakes, because there is help out there. There's a system, there's a proven system that seems to work. And especially with something like action coaching, it's such a well structured system that, you know, it's not just a fluffy chat where you turn up and you spend some time with Parag. You know, you really hold people accountable, and you know, it's almost as if you haven't done your homework and you're turning up for session 2, you know, you're going to know about it, and it's going to really affect your steps in moving forward. So, Parag, in a nutshell, what is coaching and what is mentoring?
Okay. Cool. That's a great question. So I very much describe what we do with 3 words: education, implementation, and accountability. So in other words, first and foremost, we have to educate people. We have to educate them on the skills of running a successful business. And you talked about your story, James. And I remember I actually listened to that podcast where you told your story, and I was just sat there going, geez, and even I felt this emotion welling up inside of me, because your story is just so common. And a lot of people, they go out in business, they've got the passion, they've got the energy, they've got the drive. But to put it bluntly, they just don't know what they're doing in terms of how to run a successful business. They know about their product, they know about their service, but they don't have those business skills. And to me, one of the biggest drivers for why I get out of bed every morning and why my team gets out of bed is because we look at those tragic rates of failure in this country, of business failure. And typically between 60 and 80% of businesses in this country fail in their first 5 years. That is a fact. And the even more tragic thing about that is that the same stat recurs even for those businesses that make it through 5 years. The next 5 years, 60 to 80% of those that survive have now failed. So if you look at those as statistics and think, right, what are the chances of you as a business owner actually even making it to 10 years? And the statistical chances are basically less than 10%. And to me, it's tragic, and it's also unacceptable. And what I've learned over the last 12 years is a lack of those practical business skills. So the first thing we have to do is really educate people on what are those practical skills. By practical skills, I mean things like, how do you actually manage your time effectively? How are you actually being productive, not just running around like a busy, crazy person on email all day and thinking that, you know, you're busy and therefore you're going to be successful. I mean, it's just absolute lunacy, because a lot of business owners are focusing their time on the wrong things. So we have to coach them on skills like time mastery, on managing your money and finances and cash flow, which is incredibly important at the moment, of course, on how you get the best out of your people, how you recruit well, how you manage and engage people. So those kind of practical business skills, we have to coach people and fill in the gaps where they're lacking on those skills. So education is key. And the second part is implementation. It's all very well teaching people how to do this stuff. And of course, the education is abundant out there. There's books, there's webinars, there's so many resources. And I know you're keen yourself, James, on reading and learning, which is fantastic. It's crucial. But actually learning without implementation is pretty pointless. So as coaches, we have to make sure you're taking that knowledge and actually implementing and doing something with it. So we even have something called homework. I call it homework. We call it homework where, yeah, I'm sure you remember this, James. Homework.
Yeah.
And we deliberately call it that because it's like being at school. We have to make sure that there is implementation of the learning. And so Kate in my team, she monitors homework implementation. We've even got a coach in our team, _𝗪𝗠. She now runs a club. We call it our accountability club, where she purely monitors our clients on what have they done every week to move themselves towards their goals. Simple question that they have to answer every single week. and they have to report back to her and to their other group people in their group. They have to report back and be accountable for what have they done. And if they haven't done what they committed to doing, why not? What's got in the way? What's stopped people doing what they need to do? Because when we start digging under the surface and understanding what's actually stopping people doing the stuff they need to be doing, then that's when that's when the magic happens. That's when we really start to move people forward and they actually start getting results. And time after time, the guys we're coaching have told us they actually want more accountability, would you believe? They want to be pushed. They want to have their feet held to the fire and challenged and pushed to do the things they know they need to do, but they just haven't been doing it. So we take that really seriously. So education, implementation, homework, and accountability, big time to get this stuff done and to move forward.
No, some really good points there, Parag. It's something you said there that, you know, a lot of businesses don't make it to 5 years, and then a very small make it to 10 years. I mean, you know, I made it to 12 years and we still failed, you know, and it just goes to show that sometimes you can go so much further down the line. And like you very nicely pointed out there, I didn't know it all, but I claimed to know it all, and everything was wrong. And as painful as it was to stand in the mirror and say to myself, look, James, all of this happened because of you, you know, and ultimately it did. And it takes a big person to do that, because at the time you're trying to blame everybody else. But I soon realized through following your system and seeing your system that, hey, every decision was my fault. I had the wrong people here. I had the wrong people. I recruited wrong. My time management was wrong. My diary management was wrong. Everything was wrong. There was no metrics. There was no numbers. I wasn't measuring everything. When cash flow was really poor, I was panicking, trying to get paid here, trying to get paid there. And before you know it, it's just a vicious cycle. And all it took was one massive disaster to completely finish us. And, you know, you think to yourself, had I walked away and got that coaching 6 months earlier, or even a year earlier, what a different business that would have been. And, you know, in hindsight, yeah, it's all good. But I think a lot of businesses, like you said, people fall into a business because they have a good skill, you know. And I think a really good book that you recommended to me was the 𝗂𝗔.
Yeah.
You know, and the 𝗂𝗔 puts this, you know, really puts this into perspective for you. And it's a book that I constantly refer back to 2 or 3 times, you know, maybe even in a 6-month period, I'll read it twice, because it kind of really highlights that you start a business, you're an entrepreneur, and then before you know it, you know, you fall into this business and you are doing everything, and it takes over your life, and you start to resent this business and you really start to hate it, and you think, oh man, I should just be working for someone else. Why am I doing all this nonsense? And I think it comes to a point where you need to step back and think, you know what, hey, there are people out there that can help me. I think a lot of it for me was maybe the kind of ego. You think to yourself, you know, nah, I know this. How's he going to help me? What's he going to teach me? He's not in a print business. He's not in a property business. He's not in this business. But I think what you realize is when you approach a coach who's a business coach, they actually coach in business, so they can adapt to any business and implement the things. And that, I think, once you can get across that kind of thing in your mind, that look, you don't have to be going to a specialist coach. You just go to a business coach that can help you in business. And I think that's why I'm saying it again. I'm a massive fan of what you guys do, and I think it could help, you know, any business.
Yeah, well, thank you, James. And I think you made a very good point there, that your attitude to learning and to personal growth is just spot on. And maybe you had to learn that attitude the hard way. Because I still remember when you came to our coaching sessions and you were sat in that room, you were like a sponge. You wanted to learn. You wanted to understand what you didn't know. And the reason you had that attitude is because unfortunately, you'd got things badly wrong in your business. So you realized the error of your ways, and you wanted to improve. Now, not everyone has that attitude, and we call them the I know people. And it doesn't matter. It's got nothing to do with coaching. it's just got everything to do with life for me. You know, the people who just think they know it all, you know, we can't help them. No one can help them because they close their mind off to new learning and new thinking. And I call that the two most dangerous words in business. I know, because you look at now and what's been happening over the last few months with COVID and how businesses have had to respond. Most businesses have been hit with a tidal wave of change, and they've had to respond. And yet there's still a lot of businesses sitting there. They haven't really adapted their marketing. They haven't really changed the way they manage their teams. They haven't really adapted or very little. And they're still stuck in this mentality of, I know best. You know, I don't need to do this newfangled marketing stuff, even though everyone else on the planet is. You know, this online marketing stuff, no, it doesn't work for me. I'm not going to bother with any of that. And I still coaching people who are a little bit stuck or maybe a bit scared of change. And sometimes you're right, it comes from ego. Sometimes they genuinely think they know it all. And sometimes they're just scared. And if they genuinely think they know it all, then yeah, we can't help. And for me, that's sad. But thankfully, there's people like you who are opening people's eyes to the importance of self-development. As I said, it doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with coaching, whether it's coaching or mentors or just reading stuff, learning things and improving yourself. It's all essential if you want to keep moving forward. Business is changing faster than ever now. It always has done, it always will do. It's an evolving thing. We can't just stand still. You're either growing or you're dying. Mm-hmm. There's no standing still. And so those people I coach who are growing themselves, their knowledge, and also themselves, their mentality, those who are evolving themselves the fastest are generally the ones who get the best results, the results that all our clients know about, the ones that are well publicized because they're so amazing. Well, they haven't got there by accident. They've got there because they've improved their skills and they've improved their mentality. They've done it consistently, not a one-day thing. They've consistently evolved and learned over time, and now they're getting the results to show for it.
Mm. No, you're right. I mean, I've had the pleasure of meeting quite a few people on the quarterly planning days that you run, which are fantastic because you get to meet everybody from different groups, and it's always amazing to hear people's stories. And you know, I always call upon this story of our friend Shaz, who you know, who's a really amazing story. I mean, when I was with him at a quarterly session, he actually told me, he goes, before he started coaching, there was a point where he actually started to hate his business. And, you know, and you think to yourself, someone looking from the outside in, you think, wow, this is such a successful business. He does really well for himself. He's a nice guy. But wow, he hates his business. And, you know, he said to me that when he took on the coaching, it was just absolutely life-changing for him. And you can see that because he's got his bounce back. He's writing books, and, you know, business is growing and the order sheet is full. And you think he made one small decision to coach with someone, and it's changed, not his business, it's changed his life. I don't look at it as changing his business. It's changed his life, which ultimately has changed his business and the way he sees things. So I know firsthand how much of an impact it can have, especially if you soak it in, if you hold yourself accountable and you listen to what the coach is saying. It does amazing things for you.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it's so fulfilling for us to work with people like that, because one of my favorite expressions in coaching is that business should be about having more life, not less. More life, more time, more money, more fulfillment, and all those things. And for us, the number one reason actually that clients tell us they start working with us is not actually financial. It's not necessarily that they want more money. A lot of our clients are already what most people would deem successful, but the sacrifice they're making is on their time. And a lot of those guys actually want their life back. They want control of their life and their time back. They want maybe more time with their family or more time to explore other opportunities that they're just not being able to do because it's so chaotic, and they're kind of working away, but they're not really able to work on the things they really want to be working on, or spend more time with the family, or spend more time on holidays. It's just not happening for them. Even though they're doing well, the balance isn't there. And that's the number one reason we hear that people really want our help.
Mm. I think one of the things that stuck out for me on one of the coaching sessions where how many people said that one of their goals was to be able to take a 2-week holiday. And I always see your face, and I never forget your expression, because it's always like, what? Your business doesn't give you a 2-week holiday? You know, you can't be away for it for that long.
Who signed up to that deal? I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Where do a lot of business owners get this mentality from? That they've just got to commit all their time, and they can't even have a proper time off in a year. They can't even have that 2-week holiday. I mean, where did that notion come from? And we've proven it. It just does not have to be that way. You know, you can tell I'm getting a bit passionate about this, James. It does not have to be that way. And I just hope some of the guys who are listening today can believe that. Maybe that's not your reality at the moment, but it really, running a business does not have to be this slog where you sacrifice your health, your time, your relationships. There is another way. And that's what gets me excited, is showing people another way. It doesn't have to be like that. And I want everyone to realize that, even if they can't see the light in the end of the tunnel now, because there's still so many we coach who aren't there yet, but they're moving towards that goal now.
Yeah, I think when that light bulb moment goes off, I think it's quite easy to see in the group, because you'll see that person just go, okay, it's made sense now. It's all coming together. And yeah, it kind of took me a while, but I've really implemented some of the stuff you've taught. Parag, I want you to ask you, can you tell us a little bit more about the action coaching system? Because I know, am I right in saying it comes from 𝗵𝗲 over in Australia?
Yeah, Brad created this coaching system 26 years ago, would you believe, when he was a young guy, and Brad's run now more than 50 successful businesses, and he's bought and sold them all other than one, Action Coach. So he's mentored me and my colleagues on this coaching system. And it's, when I started my journey, I went off for 2 weeks to Vegas, which is where Brad now lives. And I got trained by Brad and some of the other senior coaches. We spent 2 weeks just learning this system. But that wasn't enough. I'm still learning the system to this day. We're constantly, we're personally, me and my team are still coached, trained and mentored in all these coaching tools and techniques pretty much every day, because it's such a vast collection of strategies and tools to help create businesses that grow and work more without the owners. So yeah, I was trained in those tools all those years ago, still being trained to this day, and we use those tools with our clients and coach them in the same way that we use them in our business, actually. And but it's a vast toolkit, James.
And I think if anybody's in doubt, I mean, jump onto YouTube, just type in 𝗵𝗲 or action coaching, and there's so many resources out there, and you look at them and you think, wow. And this, I've had the pleasure of being at one of your days. I think it was one of your VIP days where 𝗵𝗲 was with a small group over in London. And it just so happens we got a seat right at the front. And, he spoke for 1 hour and 40 minutes. And I don't think I've ever been so engaged. Like, my eyes were just like this from the minute the guy opened his mouth to the minute he came off of stage, because he just talks such sense that you can relate to, and you sit there and you go through what he's saying, you relate it to your own business, and you're like, this system it's a no, excuse my words, but it's a no bullshit system. There is no sugarcoating it. There is no, if you do this for 30 days and you do this and you do that, you're going to become fantastic. If you do these affirmations, you stand on, this, or you try this, you're going to become great. There is none of that. It's just no nonsense. Do this, implement this, follow this, hold yourself accountable, and you're going to do great things in your business. And I think Brad just offered so much value when you watch him on YouTube and some of the stuff he comes out with, and I suppose it speaks for itself. I mean, how many books has the guy wrote now? Oh
goodness, Brad, more than, I think, 15 books at least. And yeah, the volume of content is extraordinary. But as you said, James, it's called Action Coach for a reason. It's because it's all about taking action. So you're right. It's practical, straightforward stuff. It's not about just talking about it. It's not about thinking about it. It's about taking action and coaching you to take action and get results. So it ain't easy. It isn't easy. But that's where we come in as a coach. We've got to coach you to actually do this stuff. But a lot of the time it is simple, practical stuff. And when people put it in place, they see the benefits. But we got to make sure they are putting it in place consistently over time. And yeah, that's why I said it's the best decision I've ever made in my career, in my lifetime, really, because I've had the privilege of learning this stuff from people like Brad and loads of other top educators who we learn from all the time. I've had the privilege of being exposed to those people and learning those techniques and using them in my business and in my life. So I've benefited hugely. I have a wonderful business, a very successful practice, a great lifestyle. I'm coaching 100 businesses a month. I only work 4 days a week. I've got, I know you're a big fan of, obviously, property investment and passive income. I've done all that as well. I've set myself and my family up to be financially independent. So all of this stuff, how to run a great business, how to build a great team, how to create financial independence, I've learned from the Action Coach system. I've used it in my business, and then I've used it for all the guys we're coaching. So I'm truly very, almost very blessed, really, to have been given this opportunity. And it's just exciting now to be able to share it with as many people as possible.
Parag, would you say when you were an accountant, you were kind of on 100 miles per hour as well, because you were working in the city? Would you say action coaching and putting the systems they've taught you into play has given you more life as a person as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Obviously, in the early days, James, I'm not going to kid anyone here. In the early days, getting my business off the ground, yeah, you've got to put some serious effort in. But unlike most businesses, that didn't carry on. You know, now I'm at the position where actually I'm looking to move to 3.5 days a week and have a much better balance. I've got 2 young kids. They're 8 and 5. I had to remember for a second. Yeah, they're 8 and 5. I've got 2 young kids, and in fact today's one of those days. I actually got a half day today. Every Tuesday I only work half a day, and I have a half a day off late in the week as well. So I've got the balance that I feel is one I've always wanted in my business and in my life. I certainly don't buy into the 80-hour-a-week slog. I've got great balance. My health is possibly better than it's been at any point in the last 10, 15 years. Again, a lot of the stuff I actually learned through coaching and I applied to my own life, and it's helped me in all ways. So yeah, personally, I'm in a wonderful position with my business and my life, again, only because I'm learning and implementing the stuff that we also coach you guys to do. It's the same stuff that we're doing in our life. I think I've got 2 or 3. I've had 2 or 3 coaches this year. I'm not just one coach. I've got one coach who helps me with my property stuff. One coach is helping me with some other areas of investment. One coach has helped me with mentality. And coach in the past has helped me with actual implementation and growing my business. So I believe it's very important for any coach to practice what they preach. How can you buy into a coach who is not in themselves doing the things that they're advocating that you should be doing? I think that's crazy. And it annoys me, actually, because coaching, when I started 12 years ago, nobody had heard of it. It was me in a room and talking to people, and everybody saying, "What's that then? Is that life coaching?" No one heard of it. Now there are a lot of business coaches. If any of your listeners who've ever done networking and stuff like that, I'm sure you meet in a lot of networks. There's always coaches, always, and some are great, but some simply don't have the toolkit, the knowledge, or the expertise. They've jumped on the bandwagon maybe because this industry has grown, and to me that's very sad. I think it's critical that to be a credible coach, you have to be in yourself a credible person. You have to be applying these techniques to yourself. And I still remember a guy who actually really drilled into me on this. And he said, Parag, you know, you're telling us you're going to do all this great stuff for our business. Tell me about your business. And he started saying, right, he actually asked me, what's your income? You know, what's your profit? What's your growth? Tell me about your team. Tell me about that. And so I did. I said, look, I've got nothing to hide. I'll tell you about all of those facts. I gave him some data. And he said, Parag, okay, yeah, that's why I want to talk to you. He looked at it and said, that's why I want to talk to you, because you're actually doing the things that you're telling us to do. And I think that congruency, that you know, again, it's like going to a doctor and a doctor telling you to give up smoking because it's going to harm your health, and the doctor's smoking 40 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I was in that boat and I go and see a doctor and they're telling me to eat properly and do all that, and they're not doing what they're saying, I lose credibility. I lose faith in them. I lose trust in them. And I think it's the same with us. If I'm not doing the things that I'm advocating you guys to do, then how can we be trusted to help you grow your business and get what you want out of life? So yeah, we very much use the Action Coach toolkit in our business. As well as with our clients, and why wouldn't I? It's basically changed my life as well. So I'm delighted to do that.
Yeah, no, it's nice to know that you know, you as a coach are actually still being coached yourself. You know, you'd think, okay, he's a coach, maybe he could coach himself, but it's great to know that you're even holding yourself accountable. Proof is in the pudding, I guess, isn't it? You believe in your own product, and I guess you know, you're implementing what you're learning and teaching every single day to yourself as well. Oh
yeah, I mean, I just like anyone in business, James, I have the same maybe the same fears and mental battles going on, and things, you know, comfort zone issues and things like that. So we're constantly being trained. We have conferences and training days, and just for our coaching network in the UK, we're about 200 plus coaches. So I'm always going to these events, and I'm actively seeking out people who can help me within our own coaching network. I'm actively seeking out people who can help me become even better. It's just one of always my biggest goal from networking with other coaches. I want to seek the people who can help me with certain skills, certain mentalities that I know I need to improve. So I'm constantly on the lookout for more coaches and mentors, James.
No, that's good stuff. So Parag, I think we've probably covered this, but in a nutshell, do you think any business can, you know, can do with coaching?
I think absolutely. I do have a few people say to me, "Oh, but Parag, we're doing well. You know, what do I need a coach for? We're doing well." And that's an interesting perspective, because my reply to those people is, okay, you're doing well, fantastic. You are what you might deem to be successful. My question to those people is that as good as it gets? You're looking at yourself over the next 5 years, 10 years, is doing well as good as it gets for you? Or is there something more that you want to achieve? They're the people that actually me and my team want to help. You know, I describe it as 3 levels of business: survival, success, and significance. So most people, maybe they think of coaches as someone who helps them survive, gets them out of a tough spot, helps them make a bit more money so that they can be successful. But actually, there's that next transition, which is moving from successful business to significant business. In other words, okay, you're successful, but what's next? What else can you be doing as a business owner and an entrepreneur to really be significant and make a real contribution? You know, what could you be doing for your industry? What could you be doing for job creation? Could you be creating more jobs in your community? Could you be starting more philanthropic activities and giving back? What else could you be doing, which means you have to really elevate yourself in business? So that's my challenge to the people who think, well, I don't need a coach because we're okay. Is okay enough? Is there more that your family needs, your community needs, your team needs from you, which would mean you've got to step up? So yeah, so I think everyone does. As I said earlier, James, the only people we can't really help are the people who just think they know it all. They know everything about everything, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, I actually can't help you. I can't help someone with a closed mind. Anyone else? Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what? I think having been on your program, it's quite clear to see those people that know it all, or the ones that seem like they know it all, because you see them sit around the table and they will literally challenge everything you say. You know, I don't want to call any names out, but I think there was one guy who was selling I think it was perfume or perfume oil, and it always sticks in my head. And this guy was just like, every single thing you said, it was just like, but there's this, but there's this, and I know this, and I know that. And I'm sitting there thinking, come on, man, this guy, Parag, knows what he's talking about. Why are you challenging everything? Why do you claim, if you claim to know it all, there was no reason for you to be sitting in that room in the first place, because you are doubting something in yourself, and you are saying you need some kind of help, but you're kind of sitting there claiming to know everything.
Yeah. I remember the session you were talking about, James. He just popped in. He'd come in as a visitor to pop in and just see what we did. Won't surprise you to know he didn't go any further. I was like, I can't help you. And I said, you know, if you think you're okay and that's as good as it gets for you, that's cool. You know, you don't need a coach. Please don't waste my time. It's sad because you get it, and you saw someone with that mentality, and it was closed thinking. And he couldn't. In fact, there's a great book on this actually that people can relate to, and a great book by Matthew Said called Black Box Thinking, and it's all about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And he uses the example of a growth mindset being the airline industry, and the airline industry have consistently improved the accident rates consistently over time. The rates of accidents in the airline industry has gone down and down and down. And it's because of the black box. It's because every time there's a mistake and an incident, an accident, they thoroughly investigate every single little thing that they could be doing to improve. Every little thing is analysed, and every small little improvement is made. And over time, that impact compounds up. And over time, they've seen the benefits with accident rates just going down and down and down because of the way they think, or what Matthew Said calls black box thinking. So they're constantly looking to improve and change and get better. And that's a great analogy for coaching, actually. It's a beautiful analogy for coaching because it's exactly what we do. You know, as you know, we have all these systems, and our sales and marketing system we use to grow businesses is called our 5-way system. And our 5-way system is all about exactly that. It's about compounding. It's about growing your business in 5 key areas, compounding those up over time, year after year, making small little improvements, which compound up and eventually get a much bigger impact. So, yeah, I love that concept. And to me, that's really what it's all about. It's people coming along and just being prepared to make small improvements and stick with them over time, keep adding to them, and over time you get that lot bigger improvement.
I mean, just to add to that compounding, Parag, I'm a big fan of a book that you recommended to me by Darren Hardy, which was The Compound Effect. And it's such an easy read, and you know, I've read that book, I'd say at least 15 times now, and you know, the simple thing I take away from that book every time I read it is, James, if you do something every single day, a little step, a little step, a little step, a little step, when you get 365 days out of the year and you get to the end of the year, you're going to have a massive change. You know, if you don't know about a particular subject and you read 5 pages of a book every single night, you know, in 365 days, the chances are you will pretty much have mastered that subject or be a hell of a long way in knowing what that subject was about, rather than someone who hasn't read the book or done any implementation. And I think Darren Hardy puts that really well when he talks about that story of someone making a slight tweak to their diet and how it can have a massive effect over a long period of time, or someone making a positive effect to their diet and how it changes them over a massive period of time.
It's a great book, James. I'm glad you mentioned it, because that's, for me, that's one of the secrets of success. As I said, whether you're interested in coaching or not, one of the secrets of success is that constant, never-ending improvement. Those small changes, add them up over time, compound them up, you get a bigger impact.
No, no, 100% agree with you. Parag, I know you're one of these guys who loves to measure stuff, and I think, you know, if you can't measure something, how can you grow or how can you
Mm,
improve? And that's one of the things you've taught me, because I never used to measure anything. So,
mm, mm.
um, Parag, can you share some of the success matrix? You know, I know you've got a percentage that tells, you know, you regularly measure this on how businesses have improved. Could you share some of those matrices with us, and also possibly maybe share a success story or a recent success story that really sticks in your mind, you know, where someone's come on board and done some great
Mm.
things with you?
Yeah, of course, James. I mean, you're absolutely right. Measurement is critical here because, as I said, we're educating and then we're getting people to implement. So for me, the true test of our impact is what are the results we're helping business owners get for their business. So we want to measure a lot of key metrics in a business. We help business owners build a scoreboard, a dashboard for your business. So imagine you were playing a sport, but there was no proper scoreboard. How would that feel? So you've got to have a proper scoreboard. We're looking at the obvious metrics like revenue, net profit, cash flow, future cash flow, but also other key metrics such as number of leads generated, sales conversion rate, average sale value, percentage margins in the business. All of these kind of metrics, kind of contract profit, things like that. All of these metrics, we're getting business owners to measure and measure in their businesses, and we want them to report those stats back to us so we can see the results they're achieving, and they can also see the results and the return on investment from investing in something like a coach, or also investing in things like marketing. And if you're investing in marketing, do you know the return on investment in your marketing? Are you measuring some of that key data? So we're very big on getting people to measure this stuff and learn how to do it properly. Doesn't mean you have to be some super duper Excel whiz or software whiz. It's just about measuring some of these key stats in a business. I know for a fact that one of my team, Brian, he keeps a spreadsheet of all the metrics that our clients are measured, and our average client growth rate, the average revenue growth rate for our clients is 38% per annum at the moment. So that's an average.
That's gone up. That's gone up from when we were there.
Oh, has it?
I think you were at around 36, 37 the last time.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so it sounds about right. I remember we were 34 a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's obviously gone up a little bit. Yeah, so we've got a spreadsheet that tracks all that. That's the average revenue growth per year of coaching. So whether someone's just done their first year of coaching or whether someone's finished their 5th year of coaching, it's just an average across the board, across all our clients. And yeah, I mean, a good example I can share with you is a client recently, Scott. Scott runs an estate agent in East London. Scott actually started coaching 4 years ago, and I'm so proud of what he's done with his business, because he was just a very small business. It was just him and 1 or 2 others, a very small estate agency, you know, all these big competitors around him. And his mentality was just spot on. He wanted to learn. He didn't want a quick fix solution, but he just knew that he needed to change himself. He wanted himself to be better. Don't wish it were easier, wish that you were better. Jim Rohn. And he totally got that. Don't wish it was easier, wish that you were better. I'm saying it again so everyone caught that, because it's so important. And Scott totally gets that. So he worked on himself, he worked on his leadership skills, he worked on his confidence, as well as, of course, all the marketing and sales stuff. And his results have really compounded over time. And when he started, he was one of our smallest clients. He was barely turning over 100 grand, small business. 4 years later, he just gave me some stats last week, and his business is now almost 4 times bigger.
Wow!
In terms of revenue, 4 times. So he's gone from 100 to nearly 400 in 4 years. His cash flow, get this, his cash flow has gone up even during lockdown. His cash flow has actually gone up and up and up. He's got a record number of leads in his pipeline. You know, he's got some big estate agents in his area who are really struggling. His pipeline is bigger in terms of value than ever before. He tracks all this stuff diligently every month. Got a bigger pipeline than ever. His personal take-home income, because this was really important to him, I remember when he started coaching, I'd forgotten this, and he told me this last week. His goal when he started coaching for his first year of coaching was to at least be able to take home £1,000 a month. That was his goal, and he thought that was a goal for him, because at the time he was hardly taking anything out of his business.
Wow. Yeah.
His goal now is 25 grand a month.
Wow.
Personal income, not business income, personal take-home income. He's got a wife now. He's just had his second kid. He's told me that his personal income has already gone through the roof. It's 6-7 times bigger now. His new goal is now 25 times bigger than it was 4 years ago. And that is the power of compounding. That guy has done nothing flash. He's just taken action. He's religious and dedicated with measuring his numbers. He's worked on who he needs to be, himself, his mentality, and he's just stuck with it. I call him Mr. Consistency. He's just stuck with it. I've pushed him hard, because sometimes it's easy to go back to the comfort zone. He's now very successful. But I pushed him hard. He's going to open a second site now. That's one of his goals, to expand the business, all while stepping back and working fewer hours and spending more time with his family. So it's a great story. He's applied that 5-way system to an absolute T and worked on those things like leads and conversion rate. And he's just stuck with it. And the discipline and the consistency are fantastic. And I'm really proud of what Scott's achieved with his estate agent. And I know now that we can actually really even accelerate even more now, and work on his dreams. We work on dreams now. We don't work on goals with him. We work on his dreams. And
wow.
He's got a very bright future.
That's such a lovely story. You'll have to connect me with him, Parag, because I'm based in East London, and that's my patch. East London estate agent. That's a really good story, especially he's switched now from working to goals to working on dreams. And I think when we all start a business, we've got a certain set of dreams and what we want to do and what we want to achieve, and to be in a position where someone's crafted him out and really helped him to get to where he wants to get to. And like you said, he's not done anything, like hugely massive. He's kind of just done little things consistently, and you've helped him and held him accountable. And the guy is on his way to achieving that £25,000 a month. And who wouldn't want that? What kind of freedom you would have in life? You could do pretty much what you wanted to do when you wanted to do.
It's incredible. But 4 years ago, I don't think he'd have laughed if you'd have told him that goal. He would just laughed, because he wasn't ready for it. He hadn't grown into the person he needed to be. And that's the key thing I want everyone to really think about. He wasn't the kind of person he needed to be. He had to grow first. Only by him growing, only by him learning, could he then be in a position to earn more. Without that personal growth, this wouldn't have happened. So I want everyone to remember that. It's all very well dreaming big, and that's great, but he had to grow. Grow yourself, grow the business. But growing yourself has to come first. And Scott's a great example of that.
So Parag, anybody listening out there who's got a business and they're sitting there thinking, it's not really going really well for me. I don't really know what I'm doing. I've just created myself a very busy job. I need to get some structure, because for me, there's times where I feel very overwhelmed with the stuff I've got to do. What advice would you give to someone who's sitting there thinking, I need some help. I don't know what's going on. What can they do? What's the first step they could do to instantly kind of change their situation, or reach out towards making a change?
Well, I think everyone in that position, and regrettably there is a lot of people in that position, everyone in that position, first of all, I've got a little notepad next to my desk here, James, and I wrote down a little equation that I wanted to make sure I mentioned on this podcast. So it hasn't come up yet, so I'm going to mention it now. P equals P minus I. P, performance, equals potential minus interference. So in other words, what I mean by that is we all have a potential that we could be achieving in our businesses. And I get this one, oh, Parag, there's so much potential here in my business, in my industry, in my market. There's so much I could do, but I'm just not there. And the reason, and what I want people to think about is the reason you're not there is because there's an interference that's holding you back. And that interference is mental interference. Success is an inside job. And there's something about the way that you think that's getting in the way of you fulfilling your potential. Your performance is not at the potential level it could be. There's something getting in the way. And it's something about the way you think. And actually, when I'm coaching people to get real results, obviously we coach them all the stuff you need to do, all that education, all our 5-way sales and marketing strategies. We coach them on the stuff you need to do. But actually, the bigger catalyst to success and growth is who you need to be, the way you think. And and that's the interference. There's stuff going on here, belief systems, identity systems, fears. I just did a whole webinar to our clients on fears the other day. There's things that are getting in your way that are holding you back. And so the first question to ask yourself is, what could be that interference? What is it about the way I think? What is it about my belief systems, my fears, my mentalities that are actually self-sabotaging? Because only when we remove those have we got a chance of really moving forward. It's all very well, I'll give you an example actually. I'm coaching a lawyer and Rena, and the lockdown hit and everyone's incomes were hit, and a lot of people are like, oh, I need to get online, I need to do more interviews, stuff like this actually, talking to people, webinars, and she's like, oh, I know I can do that, and there's a lot of great value I can add, but I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I've never done it before. It's incredibly uncomfortable for me. Please don't make me do it, Parag. And I said, well, I'm never going to make you do it, but what's going to be the impact if you don't? And there's all this comfort zone stuff that was holding her back, and it was all in there. It was all in there. And as soon as I got her to unblock that and get comfortable with it and overcome the fears, all the things she thought could go wrong, as soon as I got her to overcome that, she's done about 6 or 7 webinars in the last couple of months and actually brought in new leads and new business as a result of overcoming that mental interference that was stopping her doing this. So she's going to come out of this actually in a much stronger position. Her future business is going to be a much stronger position because she got the interference out of the way. Now, some of you may not know what that is, and you may need someone like a coach to help you uncover that. But if you know what it is, the next step is to really work through it so that it doesn't become a limiting belief or a saboteur for your future progress. So I know there's a million ways I could answer that question, James, and there's so many strategies I could give people. But actually, it's the way that people think that's really getting in the way of what their potential could actually be.
Mm-hmm. My simple answer to that question would be go to a Parag taster day and you'll soon realize what you need to do to sort yourself out.
Well said, James. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to give your listeners a chance to really think it through for themselves about what's getting in the way. And if you want help with that, then absolutely, yes, come to one of our sessions and come and see for yourself. It's a bit of a test drive, so why not? Yeah. I'd love to help. I'd love to help you guys who want that.
Parag, I don't think you're selling it enough, so I'm going to sell it for you. And I think you really do undersell it. I mean, everybody I have said, go and see Parag, has said to me, James, I don't know what to say to you, but man, I sat there and the light bulb moment came and I realized that I've just got a bloody busy job. I don't have a business, and how does this guy do it? How can he sit there in 45 minutes and just tell me exactly every single thing I need to know? I'm laughing about it, Parag, because I wish I'd done it 3-4 years ago, because I'd be in such a different place right now. And I can't stress this enough to the listeners. If you're there, you've got a wonderful property business that, you've got £3-4 million property portfolio. Let me tell you something, as Parag said earlier on, things can change in business very, very quickly. And unless you've got a solid system and processes in place, your £3 million property portfolio can quickly change and you could lose it all if you haven't got things in place. And I am an example of that. And I say, use me as an example because I had a thriving print business that fell down because I didn't have things in place. And it's all good for me. I can now laugh about it because I'm over the pain. But at the time, I can tell you it was a bloody big eye opener for me. So yeah.
Well, thank you. You've done a fantastic job there, James. So that I appreciate it. But it's coming from a place of, you've been there and you've seen the value in what we do because you've been to the dark place regrettably, and I'm so pleased you're out of that now, James. So full credit to you for taking what we do and actually applying it.
No, thank you, Parag. Parag, it brings me to the end of the podcast. I've got one. Where can people reach you if they want to kind of connect with you and see what action coaching can do for them?
Sure. Okay. Well, the best way, absolutely very happy for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. So just look for my profile on LinkedIn. You'll see a big picture of me, I think, giving one of my workshops to a big group of people. So you'll see my face on there, so you can't get that wrong. So find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to start. You could email me, but with all the emails I've got coming in from 100 plus clients a month, that may get missed, to be honest. And Kate and my team will look at those. So I don't want that to get missed. So LinkedIn is probably the first and foremost place, not just to connect, but also to see a lot of the information and education that we're putting out there to the business community. I share a lot of that. A lot of my videos, talks, webinars are going out on LinkedIn. So it's a great place to connect and learn from what we're doing.
And equally off the back of that, guys, if anybody's listening and you want an unbiased opinion on it, reach out to me. You've probably heard how positively I speak about what Parag does, but, feel free to hit me up because I will tell you exactly how it is and some of the things that I've implemented. And just to briefly go into that, I've taken some of the lessons on board, and number one, what I've did is I've actually outsourced. I actually have VAs doing things for me that were really hindering my business, And who did I learn this from? From Parag. I needed to get my bookkeeping in shape, and it was something that I always avoided, and it's the lifeblood of any business, knowing your cash flow, knowing where your money is and the state of your books. And, Parag gave me the kick up the arse to kind of get an accountant, a proper accountant, and have a bookkeeper so I know what state my books are in. And these are just two things that I've done just slightly before lockdown, and I'm so much happier for them. And, whereas before my mentality and my mindset was, what? No, I don't need to do this. I can do this all myself. The job's better done if James is doing it. And I was totally wrong. So just two examples there. But if you want an unbiased opinion, it's a positive one anyway. So reach out to me and I'll happily tell you how great the system is and how I'm super excited to be kind of, working with it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, James. Yeah, it's always exciting for me to see a success story in the making. So I'm really proud of you.
Parag, one last question. If you could go back in time, mate, what would you tell the 18-year-old Parag?
Oh, blimey! Right, I wasn't expecting that one. Oh, I can answer that one quite easily actually, because I came out of I went to university. I went to Oxford University. I thought I knew it all. I was a successful guy, top of the world. I came out of university and I had one thought that was going through my mind. I said, never again am I going to put myself through all this learning. I've done all of that now. I'm sorted. And that mentality kept me in a box for 10 years. It kept me, I was in my 20s, I didn't care, but it kept me flat in life. It took me nowhere, that mentality. And it's only when I opened my eyes and started realizing, you know what? I know one tiny drop in the ocean compared to what I could know. It's only when I had that light bulb when I was about 30 that everything changed. So that's the simplest advice I can give people is keep learning.
And on that note, Parag, thank you very much for joining me on the J2 Hub podcast this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure. And to the listeners, guys, if you got value from this podcast, there's only one thing I ask you to do is jump onto Apple Podcasts and leave us a nice review and some comments. It helps us get up the ranking and get the podcast out there to a lot of other people. So thank you.
Thanks, James. I love what you're doing here. Real pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks.